This is a mid-elo tier list. I hope you enjoy. Abrams is just hella strong. Bear in mind this is for mid-elo. You cannot avoid the fact that Abrams is strong. None of the recent patches have really changed that. And ultimately, we're not talking about the apex of play at the minute. We're talking about people who are comfortable with the game, which is what mid-elo should be. In my mind, mid-elo is probably Oracle, Archon, and Emissary. This sort of middle plus slightly top end. And once you get to Phantom, you're sort of in higher elo then. Okay, next one. Dynamo. Easy A tier. He's had some nerfs with the reduction of ability range in the game. Don't think that's going to change the fact that he's really, really strong, and his ultimates will win you the game if you play him right. Bebop next. He's got to be a B tier character. His gun builder's really strong, and apparently it's been nerfed a little bit with changing around your ability to move after he uppercuts you. I still think he's going to be quite strong, but not just not quite up there with all the playmakers in A and S who really do change the tides of battle. It's more a case of if Bebop hooks you, he can kill you, but it's really easy to play around once you get more comfortable with the game. Talon's probably still C. He's been given some nice changes to his traps. I don't think it's worth enough to consider moving him up. Bonus on the other hand, he's been given 0.1 extra damage on his ticks. That doesn't sound like a lot, but really confident that will boost him up to the bottom of B. And once again, Great Talon's left on C tier on his own. Hayes is still really strong. They've really not changed enough to make Hayes any worse. And as somebody who said, they're not really balancing Hayes for the low tier at the minute. It's top tier play that they care about more, which I think is fair in a beta. I don't think they should be concerning themselves with players who are just getting the game. They need to balance it for the long run, not just for the next 6 months, you know? But yeah, Hayes is still super, super strong and can absolutely control a team fight, so long as they start fighting in the mid game. If a Hayes leaves it till late game, they're not going to win. They have to be active in the mid game, in my opinion. That's a very easy requirement to learn once you're comfortable with how Hayes plays and sort of comfortable with her power spikes with her items and things like that. Ivy's still going to be really strong. The only real change that's affecting Ivy this patch is the fact that she can't run Urn anymore. Doesn't change the fact that she can rotate herself very, very quickly on the map. I'm going to put her at the bottom of S and compared to what I was thinking previously, which was sort of the very top of S. I think these two are now taking the top of S because the utility of Ivy is just a tiny bit worse, but she's still the best support character, and especially with changes like increase the amount of souls that the lowest two people on the team are going to get. I think it's can be useful for her. I'm not sure if she's always in the low income spots for a higher tier play, but she can be. She definitely can be, and she'll benefit from that, especially because she is quite soul efficient with her items. To me, Kelvin is bottom of A tier. He's competing directly with Ivy, Dynamo, and himself as the three main supports. I just think he's worse than them. He's really annoying because he is really strong. And having a good support on your team can win you the game almost as much as having like a good Abrams or a good Warden, which we'll talk about later. Just that big front line. Next is Lady Geist. She's seen some nice changes. I don't think it really changes her overall ranking. She just might have a bit more agency in team fights. So she's going to go towards the top half of A. Lash has seen some changes to how his ultimate plays out with I believe it's an AoE stun that he gets to hit the ground with, so even if he doesn't pick everybody up, he can throw them at the remaining person that he missed, for example. I think that's going to be really, really strong. Tempted to put him at the bottom of A, but we'll leave him at the top of B for now. McGuinness. Nobody likes McGuinness. She's quite weak. The only time she's really, really strong is when you play into her, and as we've learned from years and years of other MOBAs, is people who play those sorts of characters well are the people who are off meta, and you just have to focus and learn to play their game as well. So split pushing McGuinness should not be a problem once you're comfortable with MOBAs as a whole. Creel's really strong. He's still got that fantastic lockdown potential, and there's been recent changes with how his ultimate works, so you can't like drag people away from him whilst he's ulting, that sort of thing. I'm gonna leave him slightly above Kelvin. I think he's got more util than Kelvin just because he can stop everybody shooting for a fairly long time at a safe range to do so. It's not like he has to get up in their face to do it. Paradox. Now when I play Paradox, she's D tier. Tried and tried to make her work. I can't help but acknowledge the fact that she is one of the better characters, especially if you're skilled at the game. So if you love Paradox, you're going to want to put that time in because she's going to give you so much value. Same with Pocket, and I think more so with Pocket. This new change that has come through here for Pocket. Scroll down and have a look. Where are we? Here we go. So, here's Lash's changes with Ursula. There's an impact area that's done for 1 second, which is what I was talking about. Guinness's changes shouldn't change her overall ranking on a tier list. The small power shifts going up and down shouldn't be the main factor for how I'm going to do a tier list. I think it's more important to sort of discuss what is strong thematically and what should stay strong, because if you're going to put time into learning a character, you want it to be useful for more than one patch. Where are we? Here we go. Big change is Affliction now immediately deals 18% of current HP on application. Basically, it's reducing the dot damage as the trade-off for that one. I think this is really great for Pocket. It means that they can pop tanks, which is something they just had no access to before. If you had an Abrams and you didn't buy anti-heal on Pocket, you would press your ultimate, you would see that you hit 4 or 5 people and be like, okay, it's time to fight. And then at the end of the fight, there's just a full health Abrams, and you're like, oh, okay, this is great. He's still steamrolling. So being able to get what's effectively almost 1/5 of their HP in a very quick burst is really beneficial. Seven's back, man. He's not the strongest he's ever been. I think those days are behind us now. But his ultimate is useful again. I'd written the script for this tier list about a week ago, and then I never got around to recording it. 7 has been really struggling. My main thought was, if 7 had more means to play around his ultimate, rather than his kit feeling so disjointed, whereby you just go gun and you never use your ultimate, was like sort of the strategy. Not necessarily gun, but you build for your basic attacks. I'm tempted to put 7 right up here with Lash now, as sort of the very top of B. I don't think he's the best, and it sort of falls down to Wraith and Haze, right? So with Wraith, I think she's the most consistent carry character. I think as and when Haze gets nerfed to appease the masses, the lower elo players, then Wraith will still be just as good, and if Haze falls below Wraith in the tier list, that's not surprising. The only thing that would be surprising to me is if Wraith is anything other than a really solid middle of the pack A tier player, A tier character. That's just who she is as an identity. She's quite easy to play, you understand how to play into her, but most of all, if you play consistently, her consistent kit will reward you for that. Vindicta's kind of the opposite of that. She's great, she's really strong. If you mess up, you will die. It's that simple. There is no get out of jail free button beyond being able to fly away from characters who haven't bought knockdown and characters who don't have any means to CC you. That's going to happen less and less the better you get the game. They're going to be people who know that you're playing Vindicta and want to punish you for it. That's just the sad truth. Warden. I was a little bit worried. Warden received some changes. I think they're not necessarily power neutral, but it's not enough to take him away from S tier. And given the earn changes, I'm skeptical of how much they're going to do. I'll pop Warden just ahead for the sake of it for the time being. Yamato's another skill character. They have to go in this little bunch here. I would say the bottom of the skill characters, just because she struggles to get all of her damage out. She's received some nice quality of life changes recently. but when it comes to sort of applying her high skill style of play and doing everything perfectly, I think Paradox and Pocket can do it easier, more consistently. But a great Yamato will ruin your day. That's just how playing in Tour is, and that's exactly why Viscous goes just ahead of her. Viscous is really tough in my opinion. I think there are a lot of Viscous players who are getting really consistent, but playing Ultimate Maxing Viscous is not the way. As far as I can tell, there are some really great builds and players out there who are figuring out the perfect way to build Viscous, and it's really awkward because he can do all sorts. You know, he could build Gun, because then his Puddle Punch does more damage with the melee hit. He can build Spirit and look for sort of high cooldown refresh on his basic abilities, or he can go for his ulti. So he's in a similar spot to Dynamo, where it's got loads of build diversity, and all of them are viable, but figuring out the best one is what the main challenge is for players. Right, Shiv, he's going to go at the bottom of B tier. I want to put Shiv so much higher than the bottom of B tier. He's just been struggling. He's really been struggling. He's right down there. Kelvin is as well, but that's because we're on all modes. If we swap over to high elo, oh, there you go. Kelvin has seen a massive spike in win rate recently. I don't think that's reflective of all tiers, and yeah, he dropped down to just Phantom, and then Kelvin's back down here again. Kelvin's very strong, it's just you have to use him well. So, do you think Shiv is stronger than this position on the tier list? But I can't argue with the win rate. And save for Mirage. There have been some Mirage changes around his Scarab, which are really great. Basically, it means that you can fire more than one Scarab at one person. In a solo lane, you see that they're pushed up, you can throw a Scarab, you can continue fighting, and then you can throw another Scarab to reapply that dot, and you'll be able to get a lot of early game value out of that. As far as he goes as a character though, being able to split push in this game is really tough. It's so easy to get lost in the fact that, oh, it's a 6v6, so they can play 5v6 and it'll be whatever. And then they lose the team fight, and all of a sudden you getting that Walker is of so much less value because they're getting mid buff in exchange. It's really awkward to assess this, especially from like a gaming perspective of, we don't often play 6v6 games. This is quite a rarity. Most games are, what, 3, 4 and 5 sort of team sizes. So I think he's at the bottom of B for now. Hopefully he'll increase his position later on. Other noteworthy comments to make for me is, like I said before about build diversity, Dynamo in my mind is one of the characters that if you are higher skill, you will in fact carry every game. Now, I've been playing Dynamo for quite some time and I still can't get it to work. I'm positive win rate, but I think there's still more potential to put him up into S tier once the playstyles and the builds are more consistent and we're getting more power out of every character. Mo and Krill, like I said, he's mainly locked down, but he is a great frontline as well. He just doesn't function as well as Abrams and Warden do as a frontline. 7, his farming capability is also what's great. So the reason why I say like he needs to get value out of his ulti is because he already gets so many souls from his ability to farm quickly. So if he can get a little bit of value out of his ulti, then he's going to overall be so much stronger. Infernus has had some changes. User has been buffed, or should we say changed to be more in line with what Infernus likes to use. And he's also received some changes around his dash, which seem to be beneficial for him. I think it's a stacking dash now, so the damage on it changed. Here we go. So you've got the spirit scale in there that I mentioned, and then we've got cooldown reduced from 40 seconds to 35, which is great. And then it's just sort of taking away some of that tier 3 cooldown reduction in exchange. Here we go. Now also has the ability charged, 15-second charge time. So we'll have to see how this one plays out. I want Infernus to be A tier. I think he should be an A tier character. He's quite simple and you can balance him well to be nice and strong and not frustrating to play into. My concern is that the increase in afterburn damage is just going to make people build full spirit, and then people are going to be really frustrated at the fact that you thought you were half HP, but then that burn takes you all the way down. think that's everything for the tier list. Hopefully that wasn't too long. Enjoy. Leave your comments in the comment section. Let me know what you think if I'm wrong. I'm probably going to do one in a week's time and readjust once we get better win rate statistics. 'Cause at the minute, we don't have much to go off of. The win rate stats are for 1 day's worth of the patch. People are going to figure things out in the next 7 days. See ya.